Good afternoon to you, lovely real entrepreneurs, and happy Friday. How are we doing today? How are we doing? Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to you. Greetings from Dubai. Tell me where in the world you are. Do let me know. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a wave. A few people coming in. Thank you for joining. Nice to see you. Do say hello and let me know how you are doing. How is your family? How is your business? How is your team? Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday to you from a absolutely scorching Dubai. How are things where you are, wherever you are in the world? Do let me know. Yeah, really scorching here. And this week I have had a problem in this room in my office. The air conditioning has been playing up. It's just been so hot that I have had to move my desk out into the hallway, which is not great. If you check out my Instagram feed, you'll see a picture of my desk out in the hallway. It is just been so hot here and the air conditioning is packed up. Hopefully we'll manage in here. I've come back in here today to do this live, but if you see me looking a little bit flushed, then you will know why, and hopefully you'll forgive me. So let me know where you are and how you are. Give me a wave, give me a thumbs up. Happy Friday to you and greetings from a very hot and sunny Dubai. Let me know how you are doing. I hear that the sunshine has returned or is returning to the UK, but I know that there's been lots and lots of rain across Europe. So yeah, let me know how you are doing. Hope that you are okay. What have you been working on this week? Has it been a good one? Thank you to all of you that have been referring friends and colleagues to me, whether for one-to-one coaching or for work with their teams, or indeed to be interviewed for my second book. I really do appreciate it. Yesterday I had a really great interview with a lady who started her business a year ago, just a few weeks before lockdown started. It was really inspiring to talk to her and hear how she's made that shift from the corporate world to running her own business. And yeah, there are so many great stories. I just can't wait to get my book out there and get it published and hear what you all have to say about it. So yeah, really exciting week. I hope that you have been having a good week. Lots of new joiners to this community. Welcome to each and every one of you. I'm really passionate about serving you and giving you lots of great value, not just in these weekly lives from wherever in the world I happen to be. This week I'm in Dubai, but also in our regular Ask Me Anything slots that are held at 3 p.m. UK time every Monday afternoon, where you ask your questions and I answer them online. I'm online there typing all my answers for you, all of your questions, anything to do with how you start a business, grow a business, basically anything to do with how you simplify, grow and enjoy your business. I really want you to know that you are not alone in your entrepreneurial journey. So please feel free to post your questions, your challenges into this group. Let us know where you're stuck or what questions you might have. So how are you doing? How is this week going? How is July going? Second half of the year, can you believe it? I really hope that you and your business are thriving, but if you're not, then that's okay. Of course, please let me know what support you need. You are not alone. So that's probably quite enough chit chat, isn't it? Let's get going, shall we? Welcome to my weekly live at 12 noon UK time every Friday, where we talk about how you can simplify, grow and enjoy your business. Whether you're just starting out or you're several years in, whether you want to build a nice lifestyle business or you're chasing world domination, I am here to support your journey. Last week, we were looking at how to find the right people to work with. I shared my thoughts about how you get really clear about the right kind of person for you, depending on where you are in that journey, and also really about the importance of getting a good values match between yourself and other people when you're looking for people to work with. So if you didn't get a chance to join me last week, you can find a recording in this group. All of my lives are organised into guides We have simplify, we have grow, and we have enjoy your business, so you can find the support that you need depending on where you are and what challenges you're facing right now. As you know, I do tend to take my cues from you in terms of what's going to be helpful for me to cover during these lives. So do let me know, where are you stuck? What questions do you have? What challenges are you facing? What would be useful to you for me to cover in a future live? Today's live has been inspired by a workshop that I ran last week and several questions that were raised by the attendees. Today we are talking about setting boundaries. Being a business owner can feel a little bit at times like everybody wants a piece of you, right? You have to be constantly available to your clients, to your team, to your investors, to your suppliers, not to mention your friends and family who complain maybe that they don't see you enough. It can be a pretty exhausting sort of juggling act of never finding enough time or feeling like you've never got enough time or headspace to make those really important decisions. And it can often mean no time at all for you. So how do you put clear boundaries in so that people know what to expect? How do you ensure that you're focusing on those things that are really important to you rather than just running and constant firefighting? As always, today's live is practical and simple. It's designed to give you some things to think about, but also some actions that you can take today. I'm going to share some thoughts on how to set boundaries and also talk a bit about working from home, which many of us are still doing. I know some of you are back in your offices, but many of us are still working from home. And how do we kind of set those boundaries between work and home life? So hopefully that sounds good. Shall we get started then? Let's start, in fact, with asking ourselves, what do we mean by boundaries? When I use that word, what do you think of when I use that word boundaries? What does that really mean for you? If you look at Wikipedia, what Wikipedia has to say, the way that it defines boundaries, particularly personal boundaries, it says personal boundaries are guidelines, rules, or limits that a person creates to identify reasonable, safe, and permissible ways for other people to behave towards them. They are effectively built out of a mixture of conclusions, beliefs, opinions, past experiences, and of course what we learn socially. Boundaries can be physical. So, for example, whether or not you permit physical contact with another person, for example, or they can be emotional. So requesting somebody not to make unreasonable demands on your time would be an example. Healthy boundaries help us have a strong sense of ourselves and who we are. Our identity is really tied up in how willing we are to set boundaries with those whom we have relationships with, whether professional relationships or personal relationships. So it's really about who we think we are and how we choose to manage the relationships that we have with other people. And healthy boundaries really are linked to good mental and emotional health. Without boundaries, our mental health can often suffer. If our boundaries are weak, then that can lead us to feel resentment, anger, and definitely burnout. Without any boundaries, we definitely can be subject or can be at risk of burning ourselves out. And what happens if our boundaries are weak in one area, then what happens is that anger, resentment, overwhelm that I was just talking about, that can bleed out then into all areas of our lives. So if we're feeling vulnerable in one particular area of our life and we don't have good boundaries, then that feeling will kind of bleed through into other areas of our life. In order to be able to set boundaries, we have to be really honest with ourselves and with other people. And in order to keep those boundaries, then we definitely need to be disciplined. So I'm going to share with you 4 simple steps for setting boundaries. You know me, I like to keep things simple. I like a step-by-step process. The first step is to define. So as with most things, it really has to start with you getting really clear about what boundaries you already have in place and how they're working for you. How well are those boundaries working for you? How clear have you really made them? Where are they lacking? Where are they not serving you, those boundaries? What is it that you really want? What is okay and what is not okay with you? Boundaries are a very individual thing, right? So what's okay with me may not be okay with you. And so it's really important that in this first step, you're really, really clear about what's okay and what's not okay. And that you're really clear about what boundaries you have in place, maybe what boundaries you think you have in place, and maybe examine whether or not you've actually communicated that. You've got to get really clear, and then you've got to make some decisions. And also you've got to take responsibility for what you want in your life. If we give away control to the people in our life, then we're just allowing them effectively to treat us however we want. And that's an example of not having good boundaries. So you have to get clear, you have to make decisions, and you have to take responsibility for what is okay and what isn't. And that is definitely step 1. Once you are clear about what you want and what is okay and what isn't okay, then we come to step 2, which is all about communicating. And this step is really about clearly and unemotionally, without any kind of strings attached, just stating what it is that you need, clearly and straightforwardly. It's also about saying no to what you don't want, what doesn't work for you. And it's really important, you can't set boundaries without communicating. And I know that can be difficult and that can be scary or challenging, but it is really important just to own what it is that you need and what's okay and what isn't okay. And as I say, it's different for every single person. And step 3 is related to that in terms of it's about keeping it simple. Yeah, it's not about a long convoluted story. It's not about over explaining. You don't have to explain why something is okay or not okay with you. You really don't. You can if you want to, but you really shouldn't feel the need to explain. And it's really very important that you keep it focused on you. Yeah, these are your boundaries. This is your life. And so you have to take ownership. What you don't want to be doing is criticizing the other person. Yeah, it's not about them. It's about owning your own feelings and your own reactions and your own needs and clearly stating what's okay and what's not. So you don't want to say things like you mustn't do X, Y, Z. What you need to be saying is when you do X, Y, Z, this is how it makes me feel. And therefore, this is what will happen if you do this. Yeah, but it's owning it yourself. It's leaving the other person free. It's giving them information about what's okay with you and what's not. And it's letting them know what will happen if they cross that boundary. But it's keeping the focus on you and leaving the other person free. And talking about this is what will happen, that's really step 4, which is all about consequences. Boundaries can't exist at all without consequences. And what that means is that you have to say why something is important and what the consequences will be if the boundary is crossed. Now, very importantly here, when we talk about consequences, you have to mean it. You have to, it can't be an idle threat. You have to mean it and you have to follow through. People will push and test your boundaries. So please don't communicate a consequence that you are not willing to go through. Again, you have to own it, and when you talk about consequences, you have to be prepared to deliver on that consequence. You have to be prepared to go through with it. Those of you that have children will know exactly what I mean about pushing boundaries and about consequences. If you state a consequence and then you wimp out, you will cause way more problems for yourself down the line. It might feel like the easy thing to do in the short term, but trust me, it really isn't. So one of the areas that many people have found challenging in the last year, or more than a year in fact now, is working from home, of course. It can be really difficult to set boundaries between work and home life. And that commute into work, into the office, or wherever it is that you conduct your business, or you used to conduct your business, it gave many of us space and, to be honest, a bit of distance from our home life, right? And some people even kind of relished the commute time. It was quiet time to read, listen to podcasts, play games, or even daydream and look out the window, assuming that you're on a train or some other form of public transport and not behind the wheel of your own car. But when your office is inside your home, when your workspace is inside your home, it can be really difficult. It can be quite a challenge not to just default to checking emails 24/7 and then just doing one more thing. And it can be quite difficult to keep yourself disciplined in terms of those typical sort of office hours. Days can become longer, and one day bleeds into the next, and before you know it, it's all a bit of a blur, right? It's all a bit of a blur. There's kind of no respite. It feels like you're working 24/7. And that obviously can lead to a lot of stress, just feeling like you've got to be on all the time. The lack of physical boundaries between work and home means that you have to set other boundaries. Yeah, you have to do the work yourself in order to preserve the time for work, the time for home, and of course, very importantly, the time for you. So these boundaries can include habits that you agree with yourself, such as not always checking emails just because you can, and also agreements that you make with other people, the people that you live with and work with, so that you can manage your time the way that you intend to, and in a way that works for you and not just according to somebody else's whim. So 5 suggestions from me to you about how to manage that working from home, boundaries between work and home. Number 1, have one schedule. List exactly what you need on both fronts, work and home. Specific days and times when the family needs you, for example, where work appointments and deadlines fall. Have one schedule, have one calendar. See where the actual conflicts are versus the things that need to be done, but maybe not at a specific time that you can move around. Just having that total picture of everything that needs to be done can make you proactive about finding the time and managing the time. Yeah, if you're trying to juggle more than one calendar, that can get very stressful. So get it all in one place and then look at it, and then you can manage your week, your month, your day. Number 2, set expectations both at home and at work. So when will you be available? How are you contactable? What kind of environment are you setting up for yourself? Not everybody can work 9 to 5, right? We've discovered that, even if we didn't know that before. That doesn't work for everybody, right? So be understanding of other people's patterns and make sure that they understand your pattern. Number 3, block out do not disturb time to avoid distractions. Choose a time of day when you're going to be most productive and can get stuff done. Multitasking doesn't work. I've shared that with you many, many times. Be working or homing. Don't try and blend. That's where all the stress comes. Focus on your key priorities. Now is really not the time for busy. So many people. I was coaching somebody earlier on this week, and we were talking about valuing yourself by being busy, and it's something that I really encourage my clients to change their relationship with being busy. It's all about what's important, and just if you fill your day being busy, you don't have the headspace to really see what's important and make good decisions. But that's a whole nother life. Number 4, build in self-care habits and routines. So maybe you have a morning routine. I would definitely encourage it. When do you have lunch? When do you get up? When do you take a break? You know, drink plenty of water. Have those self-care routines in your day, planned out. Do set alarms on your phone if you're forgetful. Like, help yourself, make it easy for yourself. Decide what time you are going to finish the day at the beginning of the day, and make that commitment to your family or the people that you work with or live with, or to yourself. Decide at the beginning of the day what time you want to finish. Maybe even set up an out of office on your email, shut down the laptop, turn off the phone. Being on all the time really does risk stress and burnout, particularly when you're working from home. So having these boundaries and having these kind of cues are really, really important. And number 5, learn how to say no but still be helpful. I know that this is really challenging. A lot of people really struggle with this word no. It doesn't mean that you can't be helpful. If you put in a delay in responding, that's actually a great way of establishing a boundary. Don't always be so helpful and so eager to respond immediately. Be helpful at a time that suits you. Help the other person help themselves. So for example, you could say, I'm really busy at the moment. Why don't you try XYZ and check in with me later? I'll be free at 3 o'clock, and that would be a bit, let's talk about it then. But be helpful, but don't just drop everything to everybody else's whims all the time. Okay, so they are my 5 tips on how to manage that working from home, work-home kind of balance and boundaries. And now I'd like to share with you some unconscious cues to think about that tell your brain that you're at work and not at home, and therefore can help you create that healthy boundary between the two. Number 1, get dressed. Yes, I know that it's one of the biggest luxuries of working from home. It's beautiful to be able to walk from the office to the bedroom, to the office in your pajamas, turn on the computer, walk downstairs with crazy hair to make coffee, and also get on a conference call before you brush your teeth. No, we would never do that, would we? But it is really important, all joking aside, to give your body and mind some cues to kind of take off home and put on work. And getting dressed in work clothes can be a really good way of doing that. And then it works at both ends, right? So you put your work clothes on and you feel more like you're at work. And then when you take your work clothes off, your body and your mind understands that then you're at home. So that can be a really good way of just helping your brain manage this. You don't need to be all suited and booted. You know, wear something comfortable, of course, but at least suitable for those Zoom calls or Facebook Lives, or if somebody delivers something to your door. Number 2, create a bit of a workspace for yourself if you can. Don't work in bed, don't work on the couch. Get a grown-up chair, get a grown-up table that you only use for your work. Have a space if you can, even if it's in the corner. I shared with you at the beginning, I am now working in the corridor because this room is crazy hot. The air conditioning is packed up. So, you know, I'm not in the best space, but at least I have my desk and I have my screens. You know, you need a space where you can get peace and quiet and privacy. A little bit of a challenge when you're in a corridor like me at the moment. You need to get the supplies and the equipment that you need to be efficient and comfortable, but make that space different and separate from the rest of your home if you can. Like, just segregate it a little bit if you can. Again, that's a good cue to your brain. Like, right now I'm sitting at my work table, and now I am at work. The thing is, if you're creating a boundary for your workspace, you're also creating a boundary for your home space, and this is how these things work, yeah? By default, then you're setting that boundary between the two, which is really helpful. If you take your laptop all around the house, your family or the people that you live with and you will feel like there's no place that's safe from your work, right? It's actually, my husband was working in the living room all of last year when we were still in London, and one of the decisions we made when we came here is that we needed to get a 3-bedroom place for exactly that reason. He particularly struggles and needs to be able to shut the door. So I'm very conscious now being in the corridor that I'm kind of in our living space, and that's not going to be great, but hopefully the air conditioning will be fixed this weekend. So just like you don't take your laptop all around the house and perch it on the dining table or on the breakfast bar so that the people that you live with feel like your work is invading their space as well, or if you live on your own, you know, you're seeing your work everywhere. At the same time, don't let your home life take over your office space. It should be clutter-free, or at least only work clutter. Don't mix it up. Yeah, this is what boundaries are about. It's about delineating between different things, in this example, between home and work life. I talked about deciding what time you are going to finish work. It's really important that you are in control of your time. You don't have to work normal business hours. That's not what I'm saying. 9 till 5 doesn't work for everybody. It can be 2-hour blocks with 1-hour breaks to attend to the kids or to do other things. But it can also change on a daily basis, but it is important that you've got a schedule that you commit to with yourself, that you kind of have that agreement with yourself. It also, if you live with other people, it's really important that they understand what your schedule is. So I actually have my schedule in my calendar, but each day I also write it on a piece of paper so that if my husband needs to know and I'm not there or I'm on a call, he can just look at that piece of paper. It's important when you're sharing a space with somebody else that they have visibility over your schedule as well. But it's really important just for yourself to make sure that you understand what you're doing. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but if you don't have a schedule, then you'll just forget. If you're really, really busy, you'll sort of forget other priorities or other things that you might want to do. So being organized and having a flexible schedule and, allocating time to the things that are important to you, the non-work things as well, get them in your schedule. I said earlier on about having one schedule. That's really, really important. So, as a quick reminder, my 4 steps to setting boundaries are: define, communicate, keep it simple, and don't forget those consequences. So do let me know, what do you think? What's your perspective? What's resonating most with you? What questions do you have about setting boundaries? Do let me know in the comments. I'm going to close up today's live with 2 quotes, as I usually do, about boundaries and also taking time off. The first one is from the Indian-born Canadian poet Rupi Kaur. Loneliness is a sign that you are in desperate need of yourself. Loneliness is a sign that you are in desperate need of yourself. And the second one is from the great Oscar Wilde. A red rose is not selfish because it wants to be a red rose. It would be horribly selfish if it wanted all the other flowers in the garden to be both red and roses. So are you telling yourself that it's selfish to have the needs you do? What do you need to make your dreams a reality? Let's get you in the driving seat of your business and building intentionally towards what you want. Focus on listening to yourself. Ask yourself, what would a business that really works for me look like? Do let me know your thoughts or questions on this or any other topic relating to how to simplify, grow and enjoy your business. And do let me know what you'd like me to talk about next. If you haven't already claimed your free copy of my book, The Real Entrepreneur, please go to therealentrepreneurbook.com. Do check out the resilience section of my book for much more on boundaries and taking time out for yourself. Once we get the foundations right, we can build from there. I really hope that you have a lovely weekend, whatever you're doing and whoever you're doing it with. I do wish you a really happy and peaceful time. And as always, if you want to talk, you know where I am. Please remember to be where you are in the journey. You don't need to know it all, and you definitely don't have to do it all. Do take care, stay safe and keep in touch. Bye for now. Have a lovely weekend.